Good morning. Welcome to the Thursday, October 17th, 2024 public meeting of the Kingston City Land Bank's Acquisition, Disposition, and Construction Committee. My name is Mike. I serve as the moderator for this call. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. And with that, I turn the meeting over to the committee chair, Mr. Aaron Chilwich.
Good morning, everybody. Given that, Barbara, you only have a half hour, perhaps it makes sense to do some of the agenda in reverse, or different order, Mike, just so we can talk about home and the executive session item with everybody.
Sure, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I think that would make the most sense. Why don't we come back, kind of end with the Keystone updates, just because I think that's there are fewer updates other than the fact that marketing will be starting soon. But why don't we start with the resource submission and go down from there? So the resource submission update, I don't actually know if I just put this in here because we talked about it in with our officers call, but essentially it's the submission to the county, sorry, to the city for restore funds to do some cleanup of sites, basically.
Totally. And we, if you'd like, I could give a little update for context for the committee and
please
keep people up to speed. So every year the city of Kingston has a joint application with the county of Ulster for the state of New York Empire State Development division of the state of New York, and the funding source is called Restore. And so the focus of the Restore funds includes providing money for projects that produce affordable housing or economic development. Note that there's an E in economic development, the group that's overseeing this funding at the state. So every year we've tried, we've not been successful. This year, we are trying again, as Aaron mentioned, on 2 sites in Kingston for which we believe we could provide some significant affordable housing at the end of the day. And so we've applied to the city, who is now meeting with the county to determine if our application will go forward. So we'll have some more updates at the next meeting for sure, probably by the board meeting, but that's my update on that.
Any questions or stuff, or move on to the home dev presentation? All right, so home. Owen is not here. Oh, Owen is here, and Kyle's here. Perfect. So what have you found after talking with all the contractors, Kyle and Owen?
Sorry, I jumped the gun. Owen, do you want to start?
Either way. Well, so we did
just quickly for Paul. Paul, I want to make sure just you know what you follow it along. This project, do you already have the context for it, or should I kind of repeat what it is?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, cool. Let's make it sure.
So we became aware in the late part of the summer that this was an option for us, and that it was time to apply for funding soon if we were going to move on it. And we have so far investigated kind of 2 possible ways of delivering some small houses on these 3 lots, with the idea of trying to have some numbers that both test the feasibility and then make our funding application informed. So we put together like a pricing request for site-built versions and modular-built versions of the same small houses. There's 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom versions, and got those back recently, and been plugging them into model and seeing if it can work.
Right.
And
Yeah, so on that, basically, just a brief update from what I shared last month. On the left was kind of the program overview. And on the right here is where we're at today. 3 homes, someone mentioned one bedroom home, two bedroom homes, and using a conservative estimate from Owen's request for pricing, we came up with this total development budget figure. And we're looking at using the max home subsidy available for the 3 homes, 708,000 for these 3 homes, and balancing the rest out with LBI funds, a little over 900,000. Other things worth noting, we're anticipating a 12-month construction schedule and looking at doing all 3 homes at once, as opposed to doing one home, using those proceeds and going to the next one. I think it makes it a little bit easier for maybe like a number of things, including, our application makes it look better if we can do this in 12 months rather than 36 months. And also just that we can do one marketing period as opposed to 3 separate marketing periods. And yeah, if this LBI application works out, then we should be able to do all 3 at once. That we'll have the funds that should be able to do it. So those are the updates there. We're wrapping up the application now. Hope to have it in definitely before the deadline, but hopefully some point this week, early next week.
Right. And then in terms of the new construction versus like on-site construction versus off-site modular, where have kind of conversations ended up?
Yeah, so our numbers are based off of a version that uses a modular delivery, partially, I mean, for the only reason that, or the main reason that that those numbers came in I mean, both versions were like higher than everybody wanted, which is sort of like usual kind of thing. But the modular numbers were quite a bit lower. All the both we asked for a fair amount of line item breakdown. I think both contractors took it seriously, and the line items look usual and reasonable, and it's just you add them all together and it becomes a big number. So I think
Can you
yeah.
tell from that like where the modular where the modular builder is significantly cheaper than the domestic site?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're basically you're you're cutting out like 6 different subs that are delivering something, and so you're cutting out the overhead and coordination between bringing the sheetrocker in, then bringing the framer, first the framer, then the sheetrocker, then the insulation sub, then the electrician. So we still get that parade of subs on the site because it's like the box is $100,000 chunk out of this $400,000 plus project. It's like it's a big part of what gets delivered, but it's not the whole project. And so yeah, the box is coming in, but it's got to sit on a foundation. The foundation has to get connected to underground utilities. And the foundation has to go in a hole, which is now currently a forest. It's like there's these other pieces that have to come together. But I think it is both. It's buying power and it's cutting out levels of coordination and overhead of working with 6 different companies.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
And so is the idea that by we, I guess I kind of mean you, that like we would act or you would act as the GC for the other components, or would we bring on another GC to handle the foundation and then the kind of finishes at the end?
I think that we would have a GC that would oversee the whole process. including including the site work and the setting of the modular and the finishing of the modular, because there's like pieces, there's scope on either ends of the box showing up in the modular company. So so there are other ways we could break it up. Right now, I think that is probably the best way.
Out of curiosity, where is the modular company?
The modular company that we talked to is in Sprakers, New York. It's like kind of right in the middle of the state. And we will, I think we're gonna have to, if we get the thumbs up from the funding on this, we'll have to figure out like how we like present the RFP for the project of like, are we, are we specifying that this is the product, and or is it like we have to figure out what works for our procurement policy of like what we ask for exactly as we specify this work to be done. So, but the company that we talked to is in Sprakers, New York.
Maybe I could just add, it feels like we're at the stage where we can apply, but just to set the expectations, all we're doing right now is applying. And so we don't know yet if we'll be successful in our application, if our assumptions for costs indeed hold true. However, we go through the procurement process. If, as Owen said, the current site conditions, we can find funding to pay for getting them to the state where they can actually move forward with construction. All these things are kind of variables. We feel comfortable recommending moving forward with the application. I think we're in a very strong position to do this work. And as Kyle and I work through the application, going through the history of what we've done, it really does set the stage that this is a logical next step for an organization like this to move into this. So I feel good recommending we move forward applying for sure.
Our first new construction. That is very exciting. Very exciting. Any floor is open for anybody. Do you need a vote today to move forward, or do you just is this just a notice and discussion?
I think it's just an update. I think it's just prior to, we came and spoke about this, I think both at this committee and the board last month, and then we've refined sort of our approach and have a better focus on the idea that we're applying. So I think that was our main update. If that works for you.
That works.
Sweet.
When do we have a sense, Mike, of like when we think would next be, like when would we might be hearing back from them, or have you talked to other people that have gone through it?
So the answer is no. The short answer is no. It's a program that was mothballed, you may recall me saying, and then no one who had worked on the previous version of it at the state works there anymore. So there's no one at the state to kind of tell you the timelines to get through this. No one who's applied has been awarded. They're waiting until after October 31st. Okay. And so sometime after October 31st, and this is the first time for everyone for doing this. So to set expectations, I hope it's this year that we hear back, but I don't know what that means in terms of timeline to move forward with the contract. It's sort of new for all of us, but as soon as we know that definitively, I think after we apply, we can probably get a better sense of what their timelines look like. That's my guess.
I know it's a ways out, because first we have to be awarded everything, and then we have to build the things, and then we have to sell the things. But might this be a moment? I know that there were some concerns internally, and I don't know, Mike, you expressed them about the state's enforcement mortgage and how it was structured. Because might this be a time to see if they would be willing to negotiate or address some of those concerns?
For the purposes of a public meeting,
Oh,
in the sense of just, I don't know, and there's a lot of variables, and I think it's worth noting that it's a different program and we don't
Yeah.
know what the home restrictions look like. And
Yeah, fair enough.
the
Yeah.
home is a federal program and it's been around for like 50 years. I think it's more difficult to negotiate on this program, unfortunately. But for the purpose of public meeting, I don't know. Like maybe could be. It would be great if the state were able to refocus their efforts to produce outcomes that mirror ours with our enforcement mortgage. I think we all
You'd be
want that.
very pleased.
Totally.
Is there a deadline, say we submit the application, we're awarded, you know, the subsidies for our proposed project? Is there a deadline as to when we would have to complete the 12-month construction schedule or?
I think it's 36 months after award, right, Kyle?
Okay,
Is what we have tons of time, and I think the way that the
Good.
program historically had functioned was you do one house, you sell one house, you take the proceeds from one sale, you do a second house. Like I think it was intended. Yeah, Kyle's pulling up the term sheet here now, which is on the state's website.
I know
They don't know yet.
the,
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, completed within a 3-year contract term.
Wow.
okay, so we would feel confident within that, like, 3 year, because I know
Yes.
we like have the budget for next year, right? Like, the 2025 budget's already
Yes.
approved, right? And
Correct.
wasn't sure if that 12-month construction schedule and between the award from like the home program subsidies plus the LBI funds, if that would be a 2025 project or a 2026.
I think well, my hope is, and there's a lot of variables that have to come together, but the desire, I think that we're trying to move towards is to not have a break in construction, construction activities. So we would finish, we're hoping, depend on a lot of moving pieces to finish the sales of the final 2 homes in the Keystone program in, let's say, August
Right.
of 2025. So the hope would be to dovetail into something in the 3rd or 4th quarter of 2025 with construction in this program.
Okay, understood.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, right. I mean, we have some steps to get through first.
But we're moving in the right direction. I think we know what the off ramps are, to the escape hatches are, and what the steps are to move forward on all of these programs. So it's exciting.
I will say it's pretty amazing that just because of how flexible the LBI funds are, that we're gonna have rehab 6 homes and now build 3 new construction homes without a bank loan. Just with this really flexible source of subsidy. It shows what you can do if it's there, the money's there.
Super helpful. It helps us with operating expenses, the LBI program. It has helped all 31 land banks, and it's a great program, and it hopefully receives annual funding and gets turned into a budget line as opposed to an annual reappropriation. It's a great program. It's really helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, keep us posted if you have any questions or issues with meeting the 31st as the deadline for the application.
Will do.
And if there's ever a plan to go Owen out to the factory, let us know. I think
You're in, right?
what?
You're interested. You're
I,
ready.
I would love to go see what their factory is like. Yeah. Great. So that's home dev. I think the Grand Slam RFP update is that there is no update. It's a placeholder here so that we keep talking about it. We're still waiting for the result to come back from the city.
Yep.
And so before Barbara has to go, can I get a motion to move into executive session to discuss 3rd Avenue?
Motion to move to executive session.
Second. Second, all in favor? And we are committee. Thank you all, welcome back. And now we turn it over to our construction updates on the newly renamed KCLB Keystone. Thank you, Rebecca, for that name. And Owen and Kyle. I turn it over to whichever one of you wants to kick us off.
I can
You're
start.
muted, though.
Yeah, I can start if that's all right. So we are now, I'll share my screen, but we're now about a third of the way through this project, just as far as money out the door or money work in place. We I think everybody gets the basic overview, but I'll just review real quick. This second half of this year, 2024, we're working on Chapel, Abbey, Stefan, and Gill. First half of next year, we're working on Grand and Hasbrook. So that's these projects are moving at different paces, but that's what's expected. We you can, if you jump down to the very bottom here and look at the percent completed, including requisitions currently under review, and how that deviates from where we'd expect these products to be. The kind of same pattern we've been on still holds, which is overall we're all good. Gill's lagging a little bit behind. It has in the past, like just recently, gotten more momentum going behind it, that my confidence is increasing that this product is going to catch up. So it's a little, well, there are a couple reasons why it's behind, but it's getting closer to the point where it just becomes like a pretty normal project that the standard period of subs can come through and get things caught up. So last month we reported that we had increased the contingency rather than burned through it at all, and now we have that's still the case, but we've got some expected change orders coming up that would put us at having expended 3% of our contingency at about a third of the way through the project. So
That's pretty good.
it's very good. And I guess that's about it. I'll just for the sake of the committee update, most stuff is normal that's going on. Right. Recently we've been like working on these retaining walls for two projects, and that's like, I think, one of the more challenging thing that's happening with these houses, and so I'm looking forward to that work being wrapped up soon, and there'll be that'll just be like some of the weirder pieces of this project behind us. So any questions about what's going on in construction? Oh, I do have one other kind of related thing, which is I'm gonna schedule, I guess I'll say this at the board meeting, or I'll send out an email to everybody, but I'm gonna schedule like just like two open tour dates in the first week of December. It's like one in the morning, one in the late afternoon, so that board members can just RSVP to me, and we'll go through like 3 or 4 homes,
That's a
just
good idea.
see where things are at.
You guys are always amazing what you do, and I have to go, but I wanted to tell you again how amazing you are. You do. It's kind of a miracle. Thanks. I got a book. Bye.
Bye, Rebecca.
Yeah.
This looks great. I mean, I don't think we've had numbers quite like this before on a project like this.
I'm glad it's sinking in, Aaron, because I agree with you, but I don't want to.
You want a 2-year-old horde?
Yeah, exactly. but it is good, and you know, not to jinx it. So
Yeah.
hopefully, we continue in that, but definitely, if it holds up, we'll definitely point it out again and again.
Um, that's great. Every time I go by, there are people that are hard at one of these sites, people that are hard at work. So it seems like they're chugging along. Um, I have no questions on this. I don't know, Paul, if anything that comes to mind for you, then switch over to the other one. Okay. Mine-
So no major updates here, actually. We're still waiting on the final pay app, so we haven't put together our requisition for this month. This is based on last month's requisition, which was pending when I gave the last presentation. So yeah, not much to update here, but we hope to have the requisition 9 put together before the next board meeting, and we'll have the latest numbers there to present then. So yeah, basically it's the same as what it showed last month, except just some numbers were finalized that were pending previously. But yeah, prior to the board meeting, I'll have this updated with the requisition 9 numbers and the project balances and all that stuff. But everything's looking good, and yeah, if Owen's numbers look good, then our numbers look good.
Just to note, it is extraordinary. I mean, it's nothing to do with your guys' work at all, but it is extraordinary how expensive the rehabs are still. The fact that we're now seeing that, right? That's not anybody's fault. That's just the nature of nobody's anything wrong here. I mean, it's
Easy.
amazing work, but it's just the fact that even 3 smaller new construction homes is going to be, potentially like the same cost. Um,
It's wild. We hope we can set a paradigm with the modular new construction. You know, in a lot of different ways. I think it checks a bunch of different boxes, but rehab is just expensive, and this is a super expensive area, and the state of New York should call it a target area for the purposes of their mortgages.
yeah.
It really should be targeted for more subsidy because the costs are what they are.
I've said a version of this before about the rehabs, but I'll just say it again that I mean, we wind up messing with so many parts of these buildings, and it's it's very hard to have parts of the rehab where we don't do a bunch of scope, because it's like, even if it's um like even if you go into the interior house and it's like, oh, this house on the inside is not, it's not that bad on the inside. Well,
Mhm.
if you're gonna paint it, like, you're gonna paint the whole inside. And so, like, yes, it's a bigger painting job to like scrape and paint a house that's like the paint's not good. But even if you're doing work and you're gonna wind up painting the whole inside, you still paid a contractor to like paint the whole inside. And so, like, each part of the process, you wind up with that kind of situation where it's like, yes, this house had like a newer roof than some of the roofs that we deal with, but also we got to sell this house to a first-time homeowner, and we're doing all this other work. We're probably gonna redo the roof, even if maybe it won't leak. We're probably
Yeah.
gonna redo the roof. And so, like,
So,
yeah, the rehabs wind up touching a lot of the projects.
Yeah. And again, I mean that I meant what I said in no critical way. It's like it is just amazing how, I mean, I don't think we could do it better, right? But it's
yeah. And if I could just add to that, I think we are unique in the state of New York, at least, right? Because we went, for example, to our annual conference. I guess I won't say where, and they can only sell their houses for $90,000. So we wouldn't be having this conversation if you can only sell the house for 90,000. The programs only work if there's a strong appreciation and
yeah.
equity to give back to the homeowner, to provide to the homeowner through this work. So you put in this much money because it's actually worth it. And in other places, like it, we're fortunate enough to be doing this work here, I guess is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah. It's the sad benefit of being in a high cost area.
Totally, totally. And
The
we got to
numbers.
go faster and faster because if the numbers keep going in that direction, you can't compete.
Yeah. Well, with that, I think we have reached the end of our committee meeting. I guess, I don't know if I think we've lost quorum here, so we're
You can vote to leave without quorum, or I'll just
Yeah.
leave or whatever.
I vote to leave. Paul.
I
You gotta keep
second it.
recording has to keep going until next month because you.
Exactly.
Strangely enough, it'll still have one viewer for the whole thing. I don't know who that person is. But...
All right.
I hope you guys have a great day.
Talk to you all soon.
Yeah. See you in a